All right, welcome back, everyone. Let's jump right into today's explainer. We are taking a really deep, structured look into a truly monumental piece of scholarship, Mustafaİslamoğlu's massive lecture series on El-Esmaul Husna. If you've ever wanted to understand not just the basic theological definitions, but the profound, life-altering philosophy behind the divine attributes, well, you are definitely in the right place. We're going to break down this enormous body of work to make it completely accessible and, most importantly, highly practical for your own life.
Take a look at this number, 98. That represents the total sessions in this single playlist. We are talking about roughly 100 hours of incredibly dense, scholarly exploration. I mean, in our fast-paced, 30-second clip digital world, a 100-hour deep dive into a single subject is just practically unheard of. This isn't just a casual watch. It's a meticulously crafted academic and spiritual journey. And our goal today is to give you the ultimate roadmap to actually navigate it.
To make sense of this massive amount of material, we've structured today's explainer into 5 clear parts. First, a giant knowledge journey. Second, introduction to methodology. Third, core names, Rab and Rehman. Fourth, human construction by revelation. And finally, the great balance of divine attributes.
So, starting off with Section 1, a giant knowledge journey, grasping the macro scale.
Okay, so before we get lost in the heavy theology, what exactly is El-Esmaul Husna? Literally translated, it means the most beautiful names of Allah. But, and this is absolutely crucial, the source material treats these as way more than just a list of titles to memorize. They are framed as dynamic divine attributes that are meant to act as a direct blueprint for your own spiritual development. It's basically the ultimate guide to character building.
Moving right along to Section 2, Introduction to Esmâu Methodology and How to Prepare for the Knowledge. Now, this is wild. Imagine signing up for a masterclass in cooking, and you spend the first 9 weeks literally just learning how to hold a knife. That is exactly the level of patience required here. İslamoğlu spends the first 9 lessons, we're talking many hours of content, just teaching how to learn these names. The heavy emphasis is entirely on methodology over mere memorization. Because honestly, if you don't have the right lens to view the information, it's just not going to change you.
And that methodology boils down to this really strict 3-step framework used for the remaining 80-plus sessions. Step 1, he digs into the linguistic root of the Arabic word to find its ancient, original meaning. Step 2, he drops it directly into its specific Quranic context to see how it operates in the text. And Step 3, which is the real game changer, human application. How does knowing this specific trait actually change your behavior tomorrow morning? It's a brilliantly effective way to teach.
All right, Section 3, Core Names, Rab and Rehman, the foundations of the series.
İslamoğlu dedicates a huge chunk of time to the concept of Rab, specifically across lessons 10, 11, and 12. And he doesn't just use the standard English translation of Lord. He frames it as the ultimate active developer of our souls. Think of Rab as the sustainer and cherisher who takes something in its completely raw state and gradually, purposefully guides it to perfection. It's all about profound, structured growth.
Then, right on the heels of Rab, he unpacks Ar-Rahman in these epic, hour-and-a-half-long sessions. This attribute is all about the limitless bounds of divine mercy. But it's a very specific kind of mercy. Ar-Rahman is described as this entirely inclusive, unconditional mercy that just blankets all of creation, no matter what. It is literally the existential love that allows the universe to simply exist.
When you put these two side by side, the theological brilliance of the curriculum just clicks. On the left, Rab gives you that necessary structure, the discipline, and the growth. But then on the right, Rahman immediately follows to ensure all that development is totally wrapped in boundless, unconditional love. They balance each other out perfectly. It's like having the strict guiding hand of a master teacher paired with the infinite care of a loving creator.
Which brings us to Section 4, Human Construction by Revelation, the ultimate goal of the journey.
Okay, this is probably the most fascinating part of the entire playlist. Lesson 25 is a complete structural anomaly. Up to this point, we've been tackling specific names. But boom, at Lesson 25, İslamoğlu just hits pause. He completely stops the list to deliver a standalone lecture titled Vahyen İnsanu İnşası, Human Construction by Revelation. This single session is actually the central thesis statement that holds the other 97 videos together.
And the core takeaway from that pivotal lesson is this: studying theology is absolutely pointless if it just stays academic. We aren't just memorizing ancient vocabulary here. We are actively reconstructing our human identity. The whole idea is that every divine attribute we study should be mirrored right in our own daily lives. Knowing about divine patience should literally make you a more patient person. Knowing about justice should make you act more justly. That's the engine driving this whole masterclass.
Finally, Section 5, the great balance of divine attributes, navigating the rest of the playlist.
So you might be wondering, how do we even begin to categorize the massive array of attributes covered from lesson 26 all the way to 98? Well, they actually fall into a perfect conceptual harmony, split into three main slices. You've got the names of Jamal, representing beauty and mercy. Then there are the names of Jalal, representing majesty and power. And finally, Kemal, representing absolute knowledge and wisdom. The source material emphasizes that a healthy spiritual life absolutely requires an understanding of all three, so you don't end up with a skewed or imbalanced worldview.
Looking at this framework, navigating those hours and hours of content becomes so much easier. If you want to dive into divine love and subtlety, you jump to the names of mercy, like El-Wadud in lessons 35 and 36. If you're needing to understand strength and absolute justice, you look at the names of power, like El-Aziz or El-Qahar. And for infinite awareness, you hit the names of knowledge, like El-Alim. Every single concept fits perfectly into this giant balanced matrix.
So wrapping up this incredible journey, here is what you really need to take away from today's explainer. We've explored a massive 98-part masterclass of deep theology. We've seen the strict three-step methodology that puts real-world application way ahead of memorization. We unpacked the core foundations of Rab and Rahman. We discovered that the ultimate goal here is literally the reconstruction of human character. And we mapped out that beautiful systemic balance of beauty, majesty, and wisdom.
To close out today, I want to leave you with a pretty provocative question. Which divine name guides your life? Like, are you leaning really heavily on mercy right now, or are you in a season where you actually need structured growth? This source material isn't just a reference text. It's an invitation to take a hard look at your own character. I highly recommend diving into it yourself, picking a concept that hits home and seeing how it might transform your perspective. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.